Anyways, I remember my probation officer calling at my work one day out of the blue, and during that time, after I failed to UA, I stayed clean because I didn't want to fail another one. I don't want to get my probation revoked. I don't want to go to jail. No, I ain't. No, fuck all that. Um, because I've been to jail before, and I fucking hate it. Like I've only done county jail. Let's just be clear. I've never been to prison. Never been to state jail. I've only been to county, and the environment there fucking sucks. It's not just the living situation, but like the negativity. I can see why whenever somebody goes into the system like that, and when they come out more negative. They didn't get, they didn't get rehabilitated or anything like that. They just came out more hateful towards the man or the system or whatever you call, however you want to look at it. Because I'll observe. I'm the kind of person I'll be the one in the back crowd just watching everybody observing, and I just see all that negativity in jail. And like, last time I was in there, I slept 20 hours a day. I did not. I wanted to just ride it out, But anyways, so I tried, got put on probation. I'm trying my best to not fuck up, but my addiction says otherwise. Anyways, um, so I get a call from my probation officer. She calls me at my work saying, "Hey, get ready. Next week, you're going to be going to Beaumont, Texas, a place called Unity for 90 days. I'm going to be gone for 3 months." At this point, now I'm like depressed because at this time during this time, like I've been working at this place over 7 months, 8 months, and you know I enjoyed being there. I enjoyed you know hanging out with the waitresses, telling my jokes with the managers, just enjoying my time there. But now I'm getting taken away from all that. And now I'm sad. I'm depressed. I was like, I don't want to go. I'm gonna miss these people, And so, anyways, I remember the last. It was like the last couple of days. It was like the last day, the night before I went. I'm By that time I've moved on. I was like, I'm leaving this tent. I'm not gonna try to pack it up. I don't want nothing to do with this campsite anymore. So I fucking just left everything there, and um, the last night or two I've been sleeping. So Red Lobster's back. The back of Red Lobster has a fire door, and it's got like like maybe 10, 15 feet. There's where the dumpster area is at. It's usually where all the people go. All the waitresses go out there and smoke and whatever. But it's after hours. I'm That's the only spot I can get um, hidden from, so nobody will see me, and to where I can use the Wi-Fi. And I'm watching TV, trying to watch some shows, and the Wi-Fi, it was kept buffering. Show wasn't working. I was just getting frustrated, getting mad. And during this time, I've been sober for maybe about uh, almost a little over a month. So, but anyways, I remember I just get mad and I was just threw the phone against the wall of the dumpster area and just shattered it because, like it's rock bottom moment. Everything's crashed. Everything's My whole world's crashing. I'm homeless. I ain't got nothing. I ain't got nothing going for me. People that are in recovery have heard this kind of story over and over and over. So I'm not gonna like go into details, but that's basically what was going on in my mind. That's why I had a short temper there, and through my phone. It was a mixture of that and like me going through withdrawals of not having any drugs. This is um watermelon punch, by the way. So anyways, I go to this place. um they check you in, they take all your possessions, your personal possessions. I still had that phone. It didn't have a screen. And I actually still had that phone, in a tubs, in my closet somewhere. uh, every now and then I'll, if I'm looking for something in my closet and I'm looking in the tub, I'll come across it and I'll just look at it and like, start thinking, start having some memories of, those days. Well, go to rehab, and at first, I'm just, I'm listening, like how, like when you're in rehab, all you do is groups. You go to AA meetings, you have groups, 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 groups. You know, they pound the knowledge into you with it. You get every hour you get to go outside for 5 minutes for a smoke break, come back in for another group. You know, um, Saturdays you'll have group till like noon. You gotta clean, clean the dorm. You gotta do all that stuff. Um, at first, I wasn't taking it seriously. There's a lot of people that are there just for like 28 days. Um, I'm there for fucking 90 days. And so I started, after the second week, I started really, I was like, I might as well sit here and, pay attention, take it seriously. You know, I don't want to, because I've seen some people get kicked out. I was like, I don't want to get kicked out. I'll just sit there and start listening. And as I start listening and start learning, learn about you know, my addiction's not because of, um, your addiction is not because you do you do drugs not because you like them or anything. Most of the time you're doing drugs to escape, and usually it's a past trauma. My past traumas, I mean, like, it starts getting you thinking about your past. You're like, what could have caused it? you know Minds, I won't get into it, but my past traumas started figuring things out, started learning about my past, my learning how to grieve, learning how to learn my triggers, changing people, places, and things. um, One analogy I remember, one thing I did was that I could, I thought that was, everyone really thought that it was like, oh, dude, that's pretty cool way of looking at it. So we're having group, and they'll have like, just with the guys, like with the patients or whatever you want to call us. One guy will be sitting up the front at the front podium, and we'll have these, um, like on the board. It'd be like the quote of the day, all these like things. And one of the things was a question: is, when life gives you a curveball, how are you going to react to how things will change in your, in a situation like that? How would you react? And you know, most people in there just, you know, like me, court ordered, whatever. They're not taking it seriously, and but after a while, I start, me being sober. At first, I wasn't taking it seriously either. I'm just there because I had to be there. And but as I started learning more about myself and more about these things, I started feeling better about myself. But when that question came brought up, um, I started, I was set, I was like, it's okay. So this is like a baseball team, guys. Think about it. Life throwing you a curveball. So life's the pitcher. It's throwing you a curveball. You're at bat. In baseball, when we're currently in the dugout, and when somebody comes into the dugout after this, players start talking about like the how the pitcher throws his pitches, like his pitch count, like look out for this one, or he'll throw it a little high up, on his third or fourth pitch, we gotta watch out for that curveball. That curveball, when people are in here talking about their mistakes and talking about, how things went wrong and like their lessons they've learned from it, you should pay attention to that. And when you start paying attention to that, you know what to look for when you get out of here. Because when whenever you leave this place, you're coming up to bat. Now you're not expecting to hit a home run your first time up on your first couple pitches. You might hit a foul ball. You might swing. Some people strike out and coming back to the dugout. Relapsing and coming back to rehab. But like some people probably you're trying to just get on base. It's basically what I'm trying to do right now. I'm trying to learn the pitch count. I'm trying to learn how life's going to be coming at me. Expecting what, knowing what to expect. So I won't strike out. Maybe I can just at least get a base hit or something so I can still be, so I won't have to come back to the, dugout. And whenever I said that, a bunch of guys were like, dude, that makes a lot of sense, dude. I like how you, put that in, in baseball terms, because, first thing I think when I say life gives a curveball, I'm thinking baseball, but anyways, and, that place, over time, like I said, been there for 90 days, the staff, they were great. They were wonderful people. Miss Mary, Miss Melinda, Todd. Todd was the enforcer dude. He was like the muscle. Dude looked like James Hetfield from Metallica. Straight up, man. Yeah, it was cool. It was cool. He even played guitar real well. It was weird, man. But I always called him Hetfield. What's up, dude? Yeah, yeah. But anyways, so I completed my 90 days. And during that 90 days, I started learning things where I started doing stuff that I usually don't do, like feeling comfortable about public speaking, interacting with people, being more sociable, thinking of others before I think of thinking of others, trying to, putting myself in their shoes. I mean, I've always been like that, but like it really, like, I guess since I was in my addiction, I kind of put all those characteristics of myself, in the back of my mind. But like as I got sober, by this time I'm like 4 or 5 months sober. I completed, and so probation is picking me up and bring me back to Lufkin.